Alright guys, welcome to the video notes. What we're going to be talking about today is finding the volume of compound shapes. Now, please remember, compound shapes, or in this case, compound solids, are any solids that are formed from more than one solid. So they're things like number one over here, which we are about to go through. Now, let me get everything set up here. So we are going to be finding the volume of a compound solid. So what information, here's our question right here, what information do we need and how would we solve a question like number one below? So what information do we need? Let's look. Now, a beanbag pillow is in the shape shown below. What is the volume of beans that can fill the beanbag? Well, what I see when I look at this is I see two different shapes, and I'm going to highlight these for you. I see what looks like two halves of a sphere right here in yellow. So that would be two halves of a sphere. And then I see that I have a cylinder kind of looking thing right here. So I said to myself, well, how would I solve for those? Well, the things that I need for that is I'm going to write down both equations right here. So for my sphere, I know that I need the volume to be equal to 4/3 times pi times the radius cubed. So looking at this, what do I need? Well, I need radius. Then I come in and I say, well, for the cylinder, what do I need? Well, the cylinder is equal to pi times the radius squared times the height. So what do I need for this? Well, it looks like I need the radius again. So those are the same thing. And I also need the height of that cylinder. And the way I figured out what I needed is simply by writing down the two equations in general form and figuring out what I needed from each of those. Now, let's say that they gave me that information. Let's say when I was looking at this, I had that information. I'm going to write it down for you right here. We're going to do this in the colors. So let's say the radius they gave me right here is they said the radius right here was 3 feet. And let's say that the height of this cylinder that they gave me right here, kind of tough to see, hopefully you can see that in blue, they told me that's 5 feet. So with that information, please label these things. With that information, we can now do two things. First thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to solve for both of these. Again, I'm going to set up this right here, and I'm going to say my sphere and my cylinder. So the first thing that I'm going to do for both of these, every time, we've identified each part of the composite shape as a sphere, cylinder, cone, or rectangular prism. I know I'm dealing with a sphere and a cylinder. Separate each part of it, and then solve for the volume of each separate part. I know in order to solve for the volume, I need to start by writing down the general form. Volume equals 4/3 pi radius cubed. And I see that I have an entire sphere here because I have one half of it right here. And the other half of my sphere is over here. So if I put those together, I have one full sphere, so there's no division that I need to do. So I say, well, the volume of that is going to be equal to 4/3 times pi times my radius, which is 3 cubed. And I come down here and I say, okay, well, let me adjust this really quickly. Sorry about that. Here we go. So I say, all right, 4 divided by 3 equals times 3.14 equals times 3 times 3 times 3. So the volume of this sphere is 113.04 cubic feet. Volume is equal to 113.04 feet cubed. So that's this part right here. Now I need to find this cylinder in the middle. So I start off by saying, well, the volume of the cylinder is equal to, well, the volume of every cylinder is equal to pi radius squared times the height. And let's plug in what I know. I know that the volume is equal to pi times, we see right here the radius is 3 squared times the height, which we've already learned is 5. And I come back to the calculator and I say 3.14 times, oh, did that wrong, sorry. 3.14 times 3 times 3, because it's 3 squared, times the height, which is 5, which is giving us the volume is 141.3. So the volume of this is equal to 141.3 feet cubed, and that is this piece of this shape, this cylinder part. Now, the last step, let me check these off. The last step is determine what the question is asking. Do I need to add these together to create the entire shape? Well, it kind of looks like it because it's asking me what the total volume is of this whole thing, which would mean I would add them up. So I say, okay, well, 141.3 let me create a little space for myself here. 141.3 plus 113.04 is going to give me, well, let's throw a placeholder in there. I get 43452 feet cubed. So the total volume of this shape, the total amount of beans or whatever they are that would fit inside this, are 254.34 cubic feet, or feet cubed. So this, that was terrible. This would be my final answer. Now I come down here and it says, based on the information needed, what steps could we follow in order to solve for the volume of the composite shape? Well, hopefully you can do that on your own, but the basic idea is, in order to find the volume of a composite shape, we solve for the volume of each separate part then we add or subtract. We add or subtract.